it's Elise here at the Bowman Library in the children's area with another middle grade book spotlight. Our theme for this week is all about nonfiction. Now, I know some of you out there are thinking nonfiction is horrible and it's boring, but I promise you, it doesn't have to be, okay? The books I'm gonna show you today are not boring. If anything, you're gonna think they're probably better than some of the other fiction books you've read. So, my goal for today is for you to think nonfiction may not be as horrible as what you think it is. So our first one today is going to be Heroes of Baseball by Robert Lipsyte. Now, baseball may not be for everyone, it may not be your favorite sport, but what's awesome about this book is it makes you appreciate the people and the history that went into making the game what it is today. So this book is going to take you through the history of baseball, and it's told through the journeys and successes of individuals, some you may know like Babe Ruth and Jackie Robinson, to other players that you may have heard of before, but maybe you don't know that much about, like Ty Cobb or Mickey Mantle. Anyone who loves sports will enjoy these various chapters and facts found throughout this book. Another thing I like about this book, and we go to the chapter list, is each of these chapters are different players. So if there's a player that you want to read about but not the others, that's totally okay too. You can just go to that one chapter, read what you want, and go on to another baseball book. So this is Heroes of Baseball by Robert Lipsyte. Our next one, if you're into science, then you will love this one. This is Eureka, the most amazing scientific discoveries of all time by Mike Goldsmith. So what the author has done here is he has featured 19 different scientific discoveries throughout history that have changed the world in some way, shape, or form. Everything from Albert Einstein to Marie Curie, as she pioneered the use of radioactive materials, to Francis Crick, and James Watson, who decided to explore DNA. What I love about, again, very similar to the baseball book, what's awesome is each chapter is its own entity. So they're very short, concise chapters, but they're filled with awesome pictures, there's text boxes, there's facts throughout. Super awesome book. Again, if you're into science, this will give you a little bit about everything. So this is Eureka. So, some of you may be familiar with the I Survived chapter books, but did you know there are I Survived nonfiction books? There are, I promise you. This one is 5 epic disasters. So what Lauren Tarshis does in this book is she takes a look at 5 disasters that she has covered in her I Survived book series. So each chapter is one of these disasters, from the children's blizzard of 1888 to the sinking of the Titanic, and you get to learn all the facts that you can about these disasters. So if you've read the chapter books, this book will help you learn so much more on top of what you already did. If you're not into the I Survived books, you don't have to read them to read this one. So this is I Survived True Stories, 5 Epic Disasters. The Perfect Horse, the daring rescue of horses kidnapped during World War II by Elizabeth Letts. So before and during World War II, the Nazis started capturing championship horses from all over Eastern Europe with the goal of using them and their genetics to make even more perfect winning horses. As the Germans taking care of these horses start to care about them even more than what they're supposed to, they figure out the only way these horses are going to survive is to surrender them to the American soldiers, because they're getting a little worried because the Russian army is starting to get closer and closer to the farm where these horses are living. But the issue with bringing them to the American soldiers is basically this would be like a mutiny. That would be like these soldiers going against Hitler and the Nazi army, which can lead to huge problems for them. Working with the Americans, they need to devise a plan to get these horses to safety without anyone knowing. This book will keep you on the edge of your seat, and you won't even believe that this was a true thing that happened, but it did. The Perfect Horse by Elizabeth Letts. Guts and Glory, the American Civil War by Ben Thompson. So if you want to learn more about the Civil War, this could be an amazing book for you. This book examines the before, during, and after of the Civil War, and each chapter is a different event, and it's told almost like a story. There's chapters in here all about like the Battle of Shiloh, to the Massachusetts 54th, to the Battle of Gettysburg, to even how Abraham Lincoln was reelected in 1864. Some of the stories in here are ones you've heard of, others, this will be your first time learning all about them. I love this book because it doesn't feel like you're reading like a history textbook. It seems like you're reading an actual story. There are others in this series as well. There's ones that feature World War II, the American Revolution, and there's even one that features stuff all about the Vikings. So even if you're not into the Civil War, this series offers plenty of different options and maybe something you're interested in. Our last one for today is Bomb, The Race to Build and Steal the World's Most Dangerous Weapon by Steve Sheinkin. I have to tell you guys something. I love Steve Sheinkin. Anything Steve Sheinkin writes, you know it's going to be amazing. He is like a genius at nonfiction. So you're probably gonna hear me talk about him more in the future, but this one is probably one of his best ones. It's 1938 and a German chemist makes a shocking discovery that uranium can split into two atoms when placed next to radioactive material. This becomes the basis of making what's called an atomic bomb. As the world heads into a potential world war, the Germans, Russians, and Americans enter into a race to see who can build an atomic bomb first, because whoever can build it first will basically be the ruler of the world. But they don't want to leave anything to chance, so each country sends spies into the other countries to figure out what the other countries already know and what they're doing. And not only do they send spies, but then they also send teams that are going to try to sabotage what these other countries are doing. It's an edge of your, you're gonna be on the edge of your seat, I promise. You will not believe that this was actual true events. Again, Steve Sheinkin is a master storyteller. You will not put this book down until you get to the very last page. So this is Bomb by Steve Sheinkin. So these were 6 nonfiction books. Here at Bowman, we have a ton more. So if I didn't talk about something you might be interested in, feel free to come on in and we will help you find a nonfiction book that you will be willing and interested in reading. Tune in next week for another topic for our middle grade book spotlight, and I will see you then.